Hi guys, welcome back to week 24, Social Media and Innovation, Tech 1.2. This week's lecture is all about report writing. We've already talked about report writing in previous lectures and previous labs. I just wanted to take the time to put everything together and kind of create a very comprehensive and, need I say, large presentation for you guys where I just cover every single point, and hopefully this helps you out. And if anything, it's a reminder of what we've previously covered and a few new additions. Okay, so got a lot to cover. Going to go through the learning outcomes, the reminder about what Coursework 2 is. We're going to talk about choosing a topic and where to get started. We're going to summarize all that we talk. I'm going to talk about the safety net and extensions policy. I'm going to go into some details about the assignments, some sources, some text that we've covered. I'm going to talk about reliability and academic writing, the format of the essay, the writing style. We're going to talk about PEE. We're going to talk about referencing and quoting, as well as plagiarism, and then finally some top tips. So I've first of all like to apologise if I skip through every single page, especially if we've talked about it before, just because I've got 60 slides to go through. Normally I have about 45, 50, so I can see this easily taking up a lot of my time, which is bad for you guys because it's very hard to retain that much information. So the learning outcomes, some major final touches you can add and remember during your Coursework 2, to understand the safety net policy and not worry about your work in general. Have about 40% of your Coursework 2 done. When I say that, that just means everything that includes your ideas, what you think you're going to write about, downloading any templates if you need, asking any questions you need to know, and having an understanding of what your topic is going to be. So before we get started, reminder to take any meds or supplements if you haven't done so already. Have something to eat and drink today, and to sit up straight and stretch your back a little bit. So what is Coursework 2? It's an essay. It's 1,000 words, not 10,000 as someone has asked. It's 1,000 words. That 1,000 words doesn't include references and quotes. So if you have a citation at the end of a sentence, or if you have references at the bottom of your document, those don't count. Neither do quotes. So if anything in quotation marks where it's something that you haven't said, that doesn't count towards the word count. You can write a maximum of 1,500. Again, that 1,500 doesn't include references and quotes. It is about a brand or online presence, so a campaign, an organization, a movement, and that has a multi-platform presence. What does that mean? So this means that they have, for example, a website, a Facebook page, maybe a Twitter, maybe an Instagram, a LinkedIn, a TikTok, an app. They could also have a Reddit account. They could have a Pinterest. That's for you to find out. Okay, so we have been using the knowledge of previous courseworks on how to manage and look at a digital profile. In the previous few labs and lectures, we've been talking about what is good social media practice. If you want to talk about that, those are the sort of things that you can mention in your essay. This is assessing your ability to research and write in an academic style. So here is a collection of topic helpers, I guess. Don't just pick one and go for it. Have a think about it. This was supposed to help people with their Coursework 1s next year, but I decided that I wouldn't deny you guys that if you really needed it. So have a look. I've put some popular games, TV series, some popular topics, just to kind of help you get started. You can probably tell that some of them are a bit vague, like lactose intolerance or tabletop gaming. They're a bit vague. You need to pick a company brand or business or a topic. But either way, if you want to have a look at that in some detail, pause now and have a look through. Okay, so thinking about a topic, needs to be a brand or online presence. So it can be a campaign by a brand or an online presence, an organization, political movement, or a social movement. Having a campaign or controversy is preferable. A lot of people have messaged me and said, my brand, it doesn't have a controversy. How am I ever going to talk about it? It doesn't have a campaign. It's only preferable to have a campaign or a controversy. It's not a necessity. Say if you just want to talk about Coca-Cola in general, you can do. You don't necessarily have to go into a specific campaign or controversy. That just helps because there's more likely to be writing on the topic. There needs to have a multi-platform presence, and we need to talk about social media. This is a social media module. You can't pick a topic or a campaign and not talk about social media. You need to think about what you're doing, and you need to talk about social media. You can't talk about just physical advertising or a video that they made. You'd have to talk about how that video was spread online, how they used that video, what it was used for, what did people say about it, what was the reaction, was there any press release on it, everything that you can think of. So again, website, apps, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitch, any social media you can think of. So just some examples: a company or brand, so something that sells a product or service and has branding. Branding is media that supports their product or service, such as Coca-Cola, Nike, or McDonald's. Organization, this can be a non-profit or a collection of companies or institutions such as the United Nations, the Royal Association of British Dairy Farmers, PETA. A political or social movement that transcends companies and brands but has clear players, or brands that pick up and run with the movement such as Black Lives Matter, #MeToo, gender equality, or LGBTQ issues such as. The do's and don'ts of a topic. So do choose a company that has quote unquote history. That means about 2 years of being around and up to 100 plus, maybe more, but you don't have to give a whole 100-year summary of what the company's been doing in that time. Don't pick a social network. This gets very messy very quickly. They also won't utilize other platforms that well because they want people to move over to their platform to receive information. So don't pick Twitch, don't pick TikTok, don't pick Twitter, don't pick Instagram in general. Like it just doesn't work. Trust me, there's so much to write about, but you feel like it's a good topic. It doesn't work. Trust me. Do use a brand that you like and feel like you can talk about. Don't pick a topic that you don't know anything about. So don't just pick a random topic. Don't pick like an obscure car brand or something that you've never seen before in your life. Do read as much up on the topic as you can find, as you can before deciding on what you're going to write about. This is important. You need to actually read about the topic, even if it's, just the entire Wikipedia article. That kind of like innate information about it will help you out. Don't just pick a topic that you love and not read up about it. So don't pick your favorite sports team or don't pick your favorite clothing brand and then just run with it. You need to make sure that you have knowledge of it and that you're not just gushing about your favorite brand. You need to, if you are going to pick something that is your favorite, make sure that you read up about it beforehand. How will you be assessed? So you're marked on your ability to talk about social networking site usage regarding the brand that you choose. You must use academic sources to support your argument, and you must make observations of your own and then finding sources that back this up. You might be using what's known as confirmation bias, where you write a statement and then you retroactively find facts to suit your statement rather than reading up about it and then writing down those facts. That's facts to suit figures, not figures to suit facts. So your information must be displayed clearly and coherently. We have discussed effective techniques in class, and we'll look at report writing in more detail in the coming labs and lectures. Obviously, that's more generic now. It's we already have. We are going to do a little bit more but at this stage, you should really be thinking about how long left you've got and how much time you have. When we started this, you had several weeks. Now we're down to, well, you know what, I'll show you. I made a little coursework 2. You have 7 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, 37 minutes and 4 seconds at the time of recording. You can find a countdown timer at the bottom of the Coursework 2 resources page on Blackboard under Learning Material. Great. You would probably benefit from taking notes on previous lectures and labs if you haven't done so already. Yeah, so, you know, make notes, decide what's important, decide what you want to do. There's a lot of information, so it's easy if you break it down. So again, it's a 1,000-word brand analysis essay. You've got till week 31 or the 30th of April 2021 at midnight. Remember Murphy's Law, not Murray's Law, Murphy's Law or Sod's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, therefore submit well before the deadline. So, sorry for the wordy slide, but I'll read it out to you so you don't need to worry about it. In regards to extension, safety net and mitigating circumstances, because of COVID, there is what's known as the safety net policy at DMU. You can just Google DMU safety net. And you can have up to 14 days extension on any work. You can submit 5 days late for the following reason with no penalty if you have a condition relating to COVID-19. So if you have an IT or technical issue, so you are isolating and you're unable to access facilities, or you can't share a laptop with your siblings at risk of infection, that sort of thing. A personal issue, i.e. a loss, illness or health due to COVID-19. Academic issues, so a lack of support or help because of COVID-19. Funds or money not available to you, or you're not able to have your regular scheduled meeting because of COVID. If you contract COVID-19 or isolating, shielding, have key worker status or caring duties, or are unable to access specialist spaces, you can automatically get an extension. If you apply for reassessment, it is treated as the first attempt, provided that there are COVID-related circumstances. If you fail as a relation of non-submission, normal regulations apply. If you fail the reassessment, you can be assessed again, but you'll still be capped as normal. So what that means is, if you want to be assessed again because you had COVID-related circumstances, it'll be treated as your first attempt. But if you fail as normal and you're a non-submission, then the normal regulations apply and you will be capped at 40%. If you fail the reassessment, you can be assessed again, but your second reassessment will be capped like normal. If you're DSA, you can ask me for an extension at any time, up to a week or 2 weeks after the deadline, depending on your circumstances. I'm less likely to grant an extension if you have low attendance. That just shows me that you have a low commitment to your work. Obviously, you're still eligible for an extension, but if I think that you've genuinely not put in the effort, i.e. you've not attended any labs and therefore you're struggling with work, that kind of shows me that you haven't been able to commit, unless, of course, you have mitigating and COVID-related reasons. You will have to fill out a Google form and notify me if you require an extension. That Google form will be available to you soon. You will have to put down details as to why you have an issue on that form. If your situation is not COVID related, then normal rules apply. Technical issue is still no reason for non-submission, especially if it is not COVID related, and you will be capped at 40%, etc. So the same as it was for coursework 1, unless you have a COVID-19 related reason, which you will have to in part disclose to me in however much detail you feel comfortable with, unless, of course, you have contracted COVID-19, isolating, shielded, key worker status, etc. You don't necessarily have to put that reason down, but it helps to help me understand why you might need an extension. It's not all about looks, but there are some things that you can do that are required. So it needs to be, your essay needs to be in Times New Roman or Calibri. It needs to be between size 10 and size 12 font. It needs to be left-hand side aligned and a single column of text. It needs to be single spaced, so 1.5 or 1.5 line spacing. Anything other than that could lose you serious marks for not paying attention to it. So, next section, where do I find text? Surprisingly, I've already given you everything that you need to complete the coursework. I know I've already said that, but this, again, is a top-up session to try and help you bring everything that we talked about all under one roof. There is a reading list on Blackboard with all the books that we've talked about. I also have a recommended watching list that you can cite if you want. You can use Google Scholar for texts, and you can read sources of existing texts online, such as Wikipedia, and use those sources and videos that display information and cite it. So I will switch over to sharing my application window. This one, thank you. Here we have, can I enter student mode? Look at me, I'm a student. There we go, so this is what you guys should see. If you go down to learning materials, we also have the reading list here. We have learning materials, we have study skills, we have coursework 2 resources, we have data storage redundancy here and extracurricular stuff as well. You have the recommended watching list and the recommended reading list. If we go on to the coursework 2 resources, we have previous year's examples, coursework 2 template, the coursework 2 brief, the essay structure, a video on referencing in Word, the recommended watching list, the recommended reading list, the DMU Harvard referencing guide, the DMU library website, Google Scholar, adding citations to Word, adding a contents page to work. There's an interactive essay helper I made, a reliable sources chart, understanding the assessment. This is a DMU library. A DMU library resource, another library resource of keywords to include in the title, academic writing dropping sessions that you can book. There's a free grammar checker here, and of course the countdown till the deadline as well. So there are a lot of resources here for you to do this. Previous years only got 3 or 4 of these. You get all of this. Look how useful that is. If you're struggling to get started, please don't email me and say, I'm struggling to get started, if you haven't read the template, the coursework brief, the essay structure, or watched any videos on the recommended watching list, or read any of the texts. If you're struggling for texts, the reading list is right there. I can't help you find specific texts relating to both your topic and social media. Texts can be about your topic. That's what the countdown looks like, by the way. I can't help you find specific texts towards your topic, and you're not going to find specific texts relating to your topic, i.e. if you're doing about Coca-Cola's use of social media and potential scandal, you're not going to find a piece of work entitled exactly what you want. You are going to have to read between the lines, as it were. You're going to have to find related texts about competitors. You're going to have to find related texts just about social media, or just about Coca-Cola as a brand, or just about marketing, or just about internet use, and put them all together. That's part of the responsibility that you have as a student to create your work. I know it sounds harsh, but that's the reality of the work that's set. Oh look, it's your responsibility to show that you're capable of independent planning, research and organisation, as well as writing. So I can help you if you really are struggling, but I recommend that you try and apply yourself as much as possible to find those texts and to find that information. Like I said, there is already lots and lots of resources on Blackboard that I think would be beneficial to a lot of people to read before sending me a message. We've talked about that before, but if you are actually genuinely in need, don't worry about it. Just send me a message and I can try and help you out as much as possible. Bear in mind that we are coming up to the final, we're halfway through this term, and we're nearly at the stage where you guys have half term. So just be aware that I am quite busy myself, and that you guys also want to all get your work done roughly at the same time. And I will be very full of emails, hence why I advise you to have a look at the material beforehand to see if you can answer your own question. And again, if you want to ask your fellow peers, the Discord chat is right there, and you can talk to your peers and see if they've already got the solution to your problem, or if you are looking for something on a specific topic, you can also share work that you have found that might help other people out. Because it's an academic essay, you will need 3 academic sources from So from the reading list, you could take a book, an article, and a journal, or any of the academic sources that we talked about previously. So some buzzwords that we've already covered. Oh, excuse me. Nomophobia, that's the fear of being without one's mobile. Spreadability and stickiness, Jenkins et al., 2013. Digital natives and digital immigrants, Prensky, 2001. Prod user, Burns, 2008. Social media fatigue, Bright, 2015. Pro-Am, Ledbetter and Miller, 2004. WMD, a wireless mobile device, Cheever et al., 2014. Social networking sites, Boyd and Ellison, 2007. So stuff that we've previously covered. So we've already covered understanding digital literacies and a practical introduction, 2012, Rodney Jones and Christoph Hafner. We've also covered digital media and society from 2017, Simon Lindgren. These are all very useful, even if you only use the extracts that we talked about in the labs and lectures, that's fine. Spreadable media, we talk about spreadable media a lot. Hopefully you should be referencing spreadable media or a work of Henry Jenkins at least once, 2013. Henry Jenkins, Sam Ford, Josh Green. Productive New and Digital Media, Your Guide to Savvy Use of the Internet, 2012. James Cohen and Thomas Kennedy. Okay, so finding sources. These 3 slides are all going to sound a little bit repetitive, but bear with me. You can find sources in a variety of places. So on the reading list, you can use sources from Google Scholar, or you can, so if you find a source using Google Scholar, you can then find the full version on the DMU Library website. I'll just give you a demo of what that looks like. Let me just get up Google Scholar and the DMU Library. Nope, that's Google Scholar again. DMU Library. Okay, let me share application, window, this window, there. Google Scholar, here we are. So let's look for something to do with Sustainable Development Goals. So from Millennium Goals to Sustainable Development Goals. I'd actually be interested in that one, you know. So let's have a look. Oh no, I can't read the full thing. Darn. Let me copy the full title. Go to the DMU website, punch that in, the full title that is. Will I get it? Drum roll, please. Ah, there it is. Yeah, that's it. And then we can view the full text now, and we can view the PDF online. So we just clickety-click. Wait for it. There it is. That's the full text right there. Isn't that wonderful? I will actually want that for my my PhD work, so I'm not going to close that. On here as well, if we can't find the information we're trying to cite, hit cite this, and this should show us all the information that we need to cite it correctly. There we go. That's the information that we need. You can also find most of the information that you need at the very top here. I've already, if you're confused about referencing as well, I created the video that I mentioned earlier about referencing on the Coursework 2 resources folder on Blackboard. There's the video on referencing in Word. I expect you guys to have a watch of that if you're a bit confused. Okay, so what about Wikipedia? Everyone wants to use Wikipedia. Everyone wants to, you know, use Wikipedia to supplement their work in some way, whether it's copying directly or otherwise. So Wikipedia is not necessarily a reliable source. So it is reliable in the sense that there are thousands of editors and moderators that will make sure that any information that you put on Wikipedia doesn't in any way vandalize or show bias. However, do not copy directly from Wikipedia. Wikipedia is great if you want to figure out or tease out a certain concept or problem, or understand what a specific word or where a specific place is or what a specific company does, but don't copy that text directly. That's good for you to help you think about other issues and have a background context to something, but it shouldn't make up any portion of your work, if that makes sense. If you want to use the information that you found on Wikipedia, then you should read the sources that they cite as part of the Wikipedia article and then use that text to inform your writing. If you are found copying text, that is a serious plagiarism offence. I don't copy and paste your text into Google to see if I can find it. We have Turnitin. Turnitin automatically generates a plagiarism check file that we can review, and it highlights the specific text that it thinks is copied and gives us a web link to it or the document that it's copied from. So don't think you can be slick and you can get around it. Plagiarism is a serious thing, and I'll talk about plagiarism later, but just don't copy off Wikipedia. That's all I'm asking. So again, finding sources, I've just done that. So in summary, find something that you need, such as social media and Coca-Cola, find an article or book on the subject, go to DMU and search for the exact title. You should have access to the full online text. If you don't, you can read the abstract if it gives you a feel for it, but you shouldn't be making any definitive statements based off of just an abstract alone. You can reserve the physical copy, or you can download the text or read it online. It's up to you. So, a new foe has appeared. Challenger approaching. Who is it? What is this? This is Microsoft Academic. Woo! So I only just got told about what Microsoft Academic is. I'm fearless in saying that it was from a TikTok. Yeah, I know. So Microsoft Academic works in the same way as Google Scholar and the library. It has a lot of text, but I'll show you in a minute. When you sign up, it can tailor the interest to show you relevant articles. Needs a Microsoft account to work. It is free. Use it in the same way you would Google Scholar to find texts and then search them on the library website. I'm now going to give you a quick demo of that. Hopefully, if it will let me, please let me. Thank you. There we go. Okay. There is Thingy Academic. So when you first come onto it, it will require you to sign up for an account. Just use your Microsoft account. I already have one, so I'm just going to click Microsoft account. You just need to go through the sign up process. So here we have 250 million publications and just as many authors, almost 1 million, 3/4 of 1 million topics, about 5,000 conferences, 50,000 journals, and 27,000 institutions. So I've set mine to my preferences of what I need. So it's giving me the latest on topics on social media here. I can also switch the topic, outreach, social media, personal ties, I guess. And it can tailor and find specific topics on it, and it gives you it based on topic more so than specific terms. You can also search for sustainable development goals. Okay, we have text on the sustainable development goals. Let's say Coca-Cola social media. An analysis of Coca-Cola social media. Let's have a clicky on that. Okay, so obviously we don't get the view PDF. Do we get a full text? No, we only get an abstract. Need to request access. So we'd do the same. Hopefully this also works. Copy the full title, paste it into Google, not Google, the library website. Oh, I don't think we have this one, journal articles. Yikes, I don't think we have that specific text. Sometimes you don't get the specific text, which is, okay. Coca-Cola on Facebook. Let's see if we can get this one. How embarrassing. think that's it. Cola today. I'm not sure if that's it even. But you get the idea. Similar to how we were using Google Scholar before, you can now use Microsoft Academic to find specific texts. And again, it's got a lot better facilities in the sense that it enables you to look at topics and related ideas and concepts. So we've gone through this before, but you can use these specific terms to search for a specific site, related terms, specific phrases, excluded terms, and date ranges. Pause now if you want to have a look at that. What is an academic source? So academic journals and conference papers are the best possible source of information. Books are equally good, but depending on the topic, they might be outdated. Statistic reports are important, but try to check the report itself, not just someone commenting on it. So someone might blow a statistic out of proportion, or they might misrepresent what it actually represents. Newspapers and magazine articles are useful, and they're not necessarily academic, but they are sources all the same. And so if you're struggling, you can use newspaper and magazine articles, but they don't count towards your academic sources. You can use blogs as a source, but they're probably as far from respectable as they possibly can. So they shouldn't be used to base any main assumptions on, but they can help inform you, just not directly writing what someone else is writing from a blog, really. So we've covered it before, but we'll go through it again just as a refresher. Academic versus non-academic. So an academic source will be written by a professional in a field of study, reviewed by multiple people, published by an established institution, includes writers' names and credentials, has accurate time and date information, uses formal language and structure, sources and references can be easily traced, is unbiased, objective, and has little political leaning, if any at all. Non-academic, so could be written by anyone, non-academic stuff could be written by anyone. It's published quickly with little to no review, published on blogs or personal pages. It uses a pseudonym, username, handle, or screen name. Unclear publishing dates, potential for informal, colloquial, or slang language. Incorrect spag bowl, includes opinion, biased, or has a political leaning. Obviously, these are all rules of thumb, and some academic texts will share some aspects of a non-academic text, i.e. it's from an institution rather than from a specific writer, or it won't include their professional credentials, or it could be a document that has been published on a personal blog or page but is, to all intent and purpose, from a reliable institution. There are occasions where books and journal articles do have incorrect spelling, punctuation, and grammar, but it's just even more obvious when it's very clear that it hasn't been reviewed by multiple people. That tends to be a dead giveaway, is bad spelling, punctuation, and grammar. You sometimes get that with news articles where they'll put like the twice in a row, or they'll use an instead of and that sort of thing. It just shows that no one's had an opportunity to read it out loud. Again, the reliability chart, we are preferably using these here, maybe even these here, certainly not anything around the outside, as Slim Shady says. So how are we going to use these texts, though? How are we going to use these texts, right? So you can use any text that we've talked about in any of the lectures and labs as part of your essay. You do need 3 academic texts minimum. The best way to do this is to have a look at the text that we have on the reading list and use 3 of those. That's the only way that you can be absolutely, perfectly, 100% sure that you've used the academic texts, and I highly recommend it. Rather than trying to find your own academic tests and being unsure, just use the three academic tests from the reading list, I beg you. So you can use way more academic texts if you want, and you'll probably get a higher mark if you do so. You can use as many non-academic sources as you want, but they still have to be reliable. That's the key. Every statement or argument that you make must be backed by evidence and a source, but we'll get onto that later when we talk about PEE. I spiced up the essay format thing a bit more so that it's a bit more colourful. Apologies if it's difficult to read, but I'll read it out for you. Bear with me just a second. Okay, so the essay format should be laid out as followed: the title, which doesn't count towards the word count; a contents page, again, doesn't count towards the word count; the introduction, it should be 10% of your word count; 3 to 5 numbered sections, which is 80% of the word count. If you had 3, 4, and 5 sections, that would be 270, 200, and 160 words per section, respectively. And then your conclusion should be about 10% your word count. Then you should have your list of references at the end. That can be done automatically, and we've already discussed that in other lectures and labs. There's also the video that I keep talking about for referencing on Blackboard if you're confused about how to insert references. And you must follow the Coursework 2 essay template on Blackboard. When I say you must follow it, you must follow this structure that I'm laying out here. Obviously, you don't have to explicitly answer the questions. Again, the essay template is there for you, so that if you want a rigid structure, it's there. If not, you can do your own thing. Don't worry too much about it. So the title page is the first page that we see. It's a collection of information about the essay to anyone reading it so that they know what it's about. This is available on the Coursework 2 template. All you have to do is fill out the highlighted information. So your name, your P number, the essay title, the total word count, and the total written count. It can be tricky to come up with a title, and you're not married to your title, so you might want to leave that till the end if at all possible. If you want to get a title or you can't write without a title, then, you know, be my guest. A contents page directs readers to a specific section of your essay. Usually this is done by using numbered section. This lets people easily find the section they're looking for. We can achieve this by using the auto contents feature in Word. There's an article on the Coursework 2 resources page for exactly that. Ideally, we want to create subheadings that are also numbered. So we'd have 1.0 as the first division, 1.2 as the first division of a subheading, and 1.2 as the second division of a subheading. And then 1.21 is the first division of the second subheading, 1.3 is the third division of the subheading, and then 2.0 is the second heading. You can see here how we go into more detail, and then coming out, we discuss various different aspects. Every time we have a subsection, we talk about it, and we put another dot and a point on it. Okay, so the introduction. The introduction literally introduces your essay, so anyone skim reading it might want to read the introduction just to get a feel for what you're writing, so they'll continue reading it. You need to be brief and concise when it comes to your introduction. You only have 10% of your word count, so you only have about 100 words to write this, maybe 150 if you're going that little bit over. You should probably cover your essay topic, what the meaning of each section and what you're going to be covering, and then perhaps your main finding and conclusion summed up. The numbered sections, so the best way to produce the numbered sections in your essay is to break your essay down into sections that you want to cover, and then write a sentence before you go into writing it in full, and then just fill out those sentences out into paragraphs, and before you know it, you'll have it done. You should have 3 to 5 numbered sections and as many subheadings as you need to clearly convey your argument. Again, this is 80% of your essay, so you only have 800 words to talk about it. Your subheadings, although new sections, do need to be related to the heading that they are under and need to show a clear structure in relation to the topic. We've already talked about the format of the numbered sections, and you can do it in this format if you want. You can do it slightly differently. You don't have to follow the lines. This is, again, for people who want a rigid structure. This is available on the Blackboard as well. So the numbered sections, you can include a background and contextualization. So that's history of the brand, what's important, what do we need to know to understand what you're going to talk about. Social media practices, what do they do that's good, what do they do that's bad. Critically discuss the brand's approach to what's good as referred to in academic literature. About a campaign, is there a campaign that you're talking about? What's it about? What do they cover? What's important that we need to know about the campaign if we're going to understand their use of social media? Is there a controversy? What's the controversy? How was it created? Was there a miscommunication? Was there a misstep? Were they supposed to say that? What's going on? Remedy, did they improve their brand appearance afterwards? How have they used social media to change their image in future? And then talk about social media channels. So you can go into more detail and talk about each individual social media channel that they have if you want, or their main 3, their main 2, or their main 1 if they only have 1. Talk about what's good, what's bad, how do they use it, what channels do they use, and why that channel. Finally, your conclusion. So the conclusion is an opportunity for you to summarize your findings. What are the good points, what are the flaws about the campaign, and your critical writing. So what did you not cover that you should have covered, etc. Suggest improvements to the campaign or emphasize the good practices that they should use. In the conclusion, you do have a little bit more freedom to talk about your opinions, as long as you don't use first person or go off on a tangent or off topic. Then you're free to talk about whatever you want. The conclusion is 10% of your word count, so it should be between 100 to 150 words. What is an academic style? So that refers to a specific style used when writing reports and academic journals. The more that you read academic stuff, the easier it will be to write in an academic style. It does take time, and your style will start off quite messy, but the more you read, the easier it will become. So we need to use ungendered third person, they, them, their, it, its. Do not use first person, such as I, we, us, our, me, my, mine, myself. Don't use gendered terms such as he, she, her, or him. If you want to refer to yourself, you can say the writer, the researcher, the academic. While researching, it was found that. Don't use colloquialisms or a regional dialect like I, canny, mardy, we, aggie, cob, or defo. Defo shouldn't use any of them. Don't use slang like bloke, lad, quid, bev, fiver, bog, mug, muppet. Obviously not those specific words, but in general, don't use slang. Don't use contractions like y'all, cuz, don't, they'd, shouldn't, these, it's, they'll, their, and o'clock, that sort of thing. Don't use abbreviations like approx, bef, com, coms, configure, est to mean approximately, before, combination, communications, configuration, and estimate. The only acceptable contractions are Latin, such as e.g. for exempli gratia to mean the best example of, etc. to mean and more, and id est, i.e. to mean it is, as it is, sorry. Don't use initialisms without first explaining, such as FAQ, WMD, SNS. You have to, first of all, say social networking sites, then put the initialism in brackets, and then you can, from that point on, say SNSs to your heart's content. Avoid emotive language like appalling, heavenly, magically, betrayed, adored. That's just overly emotional, and it kind of brings down the whole style of the essay. Avoid hyperbole language or idiom, similes, and metaphors like brain the size of a pea, cost £1 bazillion, or to die for. Nothing is literally to die for. Do not use idioms, similes, or metaphors. Bushing up daisies, over the moon, slept like a log, brave as a lion. They just don't look good, I'm afraid. Capitalize all names, including brands such as United Nations, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Nintendo, Microsoft. If there is a common abbreviation, make sure that it is explained worth, provided that it's in official use, such as Coca-Cola calling themselves Coke, British Broadcasting Company calling themselves BBC, the Bayerische Motor and Werk calling themselves BMW or Beamer. That's the official way to spell Beamer. Italicize companies and media titles. So if it's the title of a book, a TV series, or a company, make sure you italicize it, such as Spreadable Media, Netflix, Black Mirror, Amazon Prime, all need to be italicized, especially if you're mentioning a specific text. Spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So you are marked on your spelling, punctuation, and grammar. As we talked about, avoid contractions, cliches, slang. When it comes to punctuation, don't be afraid of the full stop. Don't just use commas. It is probably the best thing for your work to use full sentences and a few commas. Long sentences are not better. Remember, citations go inside the full stop. So the brackets go inside the full stop. Grammar, use the third person, avoid gendered language, don't use rhetorical questions, and don't use etc. I know I said that it's an acceptable initialism or contraction, sorry, but it is a lazy sentence finisher, and you should probably avoid using it. P. Point, evidence, and explain. Remember, you need to make a point. So what is the point you're trying to make? How does it link to the main point of the paragraph? You'd want to start off a sentence with something like research evidence indicates much has been written about so-and-so. Current thinking on blank is evidence. Which examples of evidence have you researched and are you going to use to back up your point? Wilson 2006 states, research by Smith et al. 2006 claims that. And how are you going to demonstrate that that example proves your point or supports it? How are you going to bring both your point and your evidence together, and how are you going to explain that? Supports the notion that, indicates that, suggests that. So we would say, research evidence indicates that the sky is blue. Wilson 2006 states that in a survey of 200,000 people, 99.99% said the sky is blue. This supports the notion that the sky is in fact blue according to the majority of the population. You can see how that sounds very professional, even though we're not talking about an awful lot. Citing references and sources. So citing is a term for noting down a shorthand of the author and date of a referenced work. A reference is the full name and source of the information at the bottom of the document that links to a citation. The source is the name of the original document that the information came from. Here's the DMU referencing style. So you can find this again in the coursework 2 resources folder on Blackboard. I feel like a broken record every time I mention something. It's all on Blackboard. Here is how we would reference a book, how we would reference a journal article, here how we would reference a web page. Again, we can do this automatically by using the automatic referencing system in Word, which is very useful, which again, I have a video on. Quoting. So when do we quote? We quote when we put things inside a quotation mark. So I said this today by Weller, 2021, page 1. If we want to paraphrase something, we can just roughly say what someone said, and we can say it like Weller 2021 said something on the topic. We can also use single quotation marks to quote a single word. We don't need a page number, but we do need a reference. So it was indicated things were said today, Weller 2021. Again, when you do a direct quote, you need a page number to show what page of the document that you found that quote on was found. Again, if I'm suspicious about if you have like incomplete references and bad quotes, I might be inclined to research where you found that quote, etc. So just make sure your quotes are accurate. Don't write for the sake of writing. Every word counts. You only have 1,000 words, so it is a relatively short essay. There is plenty of time to do it, and there are plenty of resources to accomplish it. Use short sentences. Rephrase your sentences to use shorter, more concise. To be shorter and more concise where possible. Quoting or insert a direct quotation only when you cannot possibly express the equivalent meaning in your own words. If you're not sure about a topic, don't worry, you can ask me or ask your fellow students if it's a good idea. Revise your work. It is very hard to reread your work, I know, but someone in your house or a family member can read your work and just highlight where they think you need to rephrase things or they think you've got something a little bit wrong. It doesn't necessarily have to be a grueling task. Finally, about plagiarism. So in academic writing, there are a few intellectual offences. In academic writing, there are few academic offences that impact you mostly. It's the concept that you're passing off someone else's work as your own content. It's okay to take a leaf out of the previous author's book by copying research and opinions if you put it in your own work, and you actually state that that idea has not come from you, it's someone else's. Make sure that the author and contributors of the study are rightfully cited. Academic offences are where you pass off work as your own. This can lead to you being docked marks or kicked out of uni. If anyone's aware, Helen is our academic offences officer, and she'll ring you up and she'll ask you about your work, and she'll give you a good grilling and interrogate you if you have a high level of plagiarism. So just be careful that you write things in your own words and don't overquote things, because that also sets off the plagiarism warning as well for us. Turnitin can easily find, it has online and offline databases of published and unpublished work, as well as the entire internet. Don't think you're clever, don't think you're smart. Even if you rephrase it, it will be able to find specific terms and styles that it can pick up on. It's very clear to me reading it that someone either hasn't understood and is copying exactly what someone else is saying, or has copied work from elsewhere. I did have a work last year where somebody had literally copy and pasted from Wikipedia. They even included the little numbers that Wikipedia used to show a citation. And I questioned them about it and said, why are you citing it like this? And they said, that's just how I did it. And I said, so there's no coincidence then that it's exactly the same as how Wikipedia has cited it, and they said they'd copied me, or it's just I just used it for inspiration. So no, you copied it. That's an academic offence. It's out of my hands. Even if you can slip past me, there are secondary measures. If you slip past the Turnitin system, you slip past me, who will be reading and marking it. And there is also a secondary marker that comes in and also looks at select pieces of work and or picks up on the ones with the highest plagiarism rating on Turnitin as well. The only way around the system is to write things in your own words and reference them correctly. It's the only way. It's the only way. Okay, so I see so many people not attending. Sorry, last year I saw lots and lots of people not attending and still trying to submit subpar work. This applied to coursework 1 this year, it applies to coursework 2 last year and coursework 1 the year before. If you don't attend, there is a direct correlation between the work done and your attendance. I know it's hard, but no one can ever take away your education from you. It's the most valuable thing that you own. Don't take it for granted. Don't use it or abuse it. Don't melt your own brain. It is not clever, it's not smart, it's not funny. The only thing that they can take your money, they can, hurt your body, they can hurt you mentally, but they can't take that education away from you. It's very important. One of the reasons why I like lecturing is I'm an information sharer. I like sharing information. I like teaching. I like helping people learn. It's a bit frustrating sometimes when people, the ones that don't necessarily attend, kind of preaching to the choir here, because if you don't attend and don't watch the lectures, you're not going to be watching this. But if this is your first time watching a lecture and you finally got through to the end, talking to those people, what was I talking about? Yeah, it's disheartening for me, it's upsetting for me, and I become emotional when I notice that someone's put in a lot of work and not gotten a good mark. I'm more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt if I know that they've been attending and absorbing that information. If you're not attending, I don't know you in person, I don't know that you've been participating, I don't know what you're knowing, I'm less likely to give you the benefit of the doubt when it comes to marking. It's simple. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. And again, I don't want to fail people. If I fail too many people, that makes me look bad because I'm not a good teacher then. I want you guys to do well. So anything I can do to help, I've tried to give you as many resources as possible. If you are stuck, most likely than not, I can just point you in the right direction either way. I've taken up enough of your time now. I think I've gone just about over, or coming up to about 50 minutes. But Finally, new any questions page, by the way, you can email me. This is an order of preference as well. You can email me at roy.weller@dmu.ac.uk. You can Discord me. If you look at the lab or lecture slides, then that is always a hyperlink to the page. But if you want to directly talk to me, that is my Discord identification. You can also find me on Facebook. You can also find my profile on YouTube. You can also @ me on Twitter. You can also Instagram me, but I recommend that if you want to talk to me, I won't accept your follow request. If you want to direct message me, I'll only look at the message requests. And if there are special circumstances, like you've destroyed all of your technology, and all you can do is ask a friend in your like in your uni building, or ask to use your mum's phone to send me a Facebook message, I might give you my mobile number if it's the only way that you can contact me. That is under very special circumstances, and don't expect to get it for absolutely no reason, especially if you can do all of the following in that order, preferably. And again, this also means that there's no excuse for non-submission or lack of communication. If you can't submit because of technological issues, you have all of this technology that you can use to communicate with me beforehand. Remember, you can use your friends' Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Discord, email accounts to send me a message if you need to. Like if you have your friend's mobile number, but all that's working, like your internet's broke or something, there's just lots of options is all I'm saying. So if you need to communicate, there's no reason why you can't communicate. I've had some people say, oh, my email broke, or I don't have any social media or anything like that. Like you do also have other options, such as, you know, making a new YouTube account, or perhaps making that social media so that you can talk to me. Yeah, there are a lot of options there, and I have opened up both Instagram, YouTube, and my mobile, if needs be, to you guys, so that there is absolutely no reason why you can't communicate. Again, I've probably talked too long. Have a good day, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye, guys.